You good, Michelle? You got a good stretch in? we are live right after Michelle's big stretch. We're live
Getting ready.
12:30 at the Craft Beer Professional Spring Conference. This is a session crafting meaningful collaborations, and I'm excited to bring this conversation to you all with three of my co-founders of Craft Women Connect. My name is Jen Price. I'm one of the co-founders again of CWC and also founder of Craft It for Action. We thought that we'd have a discussion today about collaborations from the perspective of the collaborator, I guess is the word that would be used to describe us. Collaborations can be so much fun. Everybody's doing them these days. And they're a great chance to bring a unique spin and a different perspective to beers. But we wanted to talk about, how to keep those collaborations meaningful so that they're not just one-off flash in the pan collaborations and partnerships. We want to talk about some red flags that we have seen during our many collaborations, and also some positives, like good examples of good collaborations, because we've had some of those too. So we just want to bring a truthful and honest conversation today. And with that, I'm going to introduce the panelists who we have here today. I'll let them go around and introduce themselves a little bit and say who they are, how they're affiliated to craft beer. And the icebreaker question is, what was the last beer that you drank, if you can remember? So start thinking about that. But with that, we'll start with Chris. Chris, you're next to me on my screen. So we'll start with you. Tell us who you are, how you're connected to craft beer, and the last craft beer you drank.
Okay. Hey, guys. My name is Chris Hughes, also known as the Craft Beer Connoisseur or Craft Beer Chris. I have been an enthusiast, a connoisseur, blogger, influencer in craft beer community for, I would say, a good 7 years now, plus. Started out just intrigued with craft beer and then grew into doing some major things, what I feel in the community with educating people and collaborations, as we'll get to talk about today. And of course, being a part of Craft Women Connect. So I'm also one of the co-founders in the group. And last drink, let's see. And this is crazy because I did have a beer yesterday. Creature Comforts, Tropicalia.
Oh, classic.
Yes, a hometown original right there, which they actually sent over to me as a gift. And I think I was supposed to drink it on the 31st, but it's okay.
Yeah, I think so. Awesome. Let's go to you, Michelle.
Hey everyone, I'm Michelle Turner, also known as Excited to Feast. I've been in craft beer probably for about 10 years now, maybe. I don't know. It's been an interesting journey because it's like you start drinking beer and you're like, oh, this is good, and then you start learning more and more and more, and so it's been an interesting and wonderful journey. So it's led me here to also being a co-founder of Craft Women Connect as well, and really wanted to focus on the connection between food and beer, and really getting into like pairings and how beer can elevate a meal just as much as wine can. So that's the feast part, even though feast for me is kind of like the big picture things. So I'm very into like a lot of cultural diversity and really, exploring beers from all over as well as food from all over. So I'm excited to be here because collaborations I think are just as wonderful as chef collaborations, because brewers are creative too when they want to make things. So to be able to get in there with them and put things together and just diversify the whole experience is exciting. So I'm excited to be here. And the last beer I had was actually on Saturday. I had the Atlantucky and Drought Season collab Sweet Tart Ale, which is one of my favorites from them right now. So I definitely remember that.
Awesome. Yeah, we were at a beer festival full of collaborations this past weekend, which was a great time. All right, Caitlin, it's on you.
Hey, I'm Caitlin Bradfield. I am one half of Beers a Gogo. We are also bloggers, influencers, brewers, And yeah, we're newly relocated to New York. So the beer scene out here is very interesting and welcoming. So that was like a breath of fresh air coming from LA, I guess, for the past 3 years. But yeah, we just like drinking beer. We like making beer. We like hanging out with beer people and just being able to bring a full scale like version of like diversity of what it means to be Black, queer, like, and a woman. Like, we don't necessarily see that in many beer spaces. So bringing that aspect to it has been super rewarding for us. The last beer that I had actually was from Threes Brewing, because that's where my partner and other co-founder of Craft Women Connect and Beers a Go, that's where she works. So I had the Gowanus Gold. It was a Pilsner, I believe.
Or a pale ale, because she loves pale ales.
Is that your jam? Very good. Well, I knew I wasn't going to remember the last beer I had, and I happened to have the can of it because we drank it yesterday at Sunday service. I thought it was really pretty. But it's Flying Machine Brewing Company, which I've never heard of, but they're from Wilmington, North Carolina. And it was this beautiful Escape from Lager Mountain dry hopped rice lager. I'd save the can art because it's so pretty.
That is
so
nice.
pretty.
It's
So
nice.
Yeah. Anyway.
Love good can art.
Love good can art. We'll talk about that soon in our discussion. But let's just off the bat, like I said, Craft Women Connect, we were organized to create, educate, and empower and promote unity among beer professionals and women within the craft beer community. And we've done that through several collaborations. Start off the bat, Michelle, I want to ask you this question. What does collaboration really mean to you? Broad definition is fine, but when you think about collaboration, what do you think?
I think of a two-way street partnership, right? It's getting into a partnership where both parties or all the parties involved can both give and receive value. And it's having a mutual understanding and a mutual respect of what everyone hopes to get out of the collaboration, out of working together, and just really having a lot of open communication and understanding. So, like I said, it's a partnership. It's we've joined together to do something.
Yeah, I feel that, and I think that that's one of the basic principles of it, is that it's a true partnership and understanding that. What do you think, Caitlin?
For me, it definitely means opportunity. So for us, like for Beers a Go, I know we use collaboration as a way to, push and propel like ourselves forward. So it's just the opportunities to probably reach a different audience that we might not be able to reach in the first place. So working with breweries in different areas, working with in places that we probably haven't visited, or in places where they're the biggest brewery that we know of, and like we're fans of and everything. So I also think that it's a very good opportunity to learn, because the beer industry is ever changing, ever evolving. No matter how long you've been a brewer or been involved with beer, like it's always changing and evolving, and you can always learn more.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That evolution, I think, is one of the things that makes collaborations so important, because as Michelle said, it's a give and take. And so in an industry where things are moving so quickly, and some of us who are collaborators, and I'm just speaking for myself, well, I'm not a brewer. I don't work in a brewery like Brittany. So I'm not up on everything that's happening and the innovations and the new things that are happening in beer. So I think that that's another factor that plays into collaboration, is the opportunity for us to be educated and to learn about, what's next and what's on the horizon for beer. But Chris, I wanted to ask you, why do you think collaborations are important overall?
Overall, I think that collaborations are very important, specifically in craft beer community. And in the way that I think craft beer is very community based. So me personally, just side note, that's something I think that just probably just attracted me to craft beer in general, is the community that comes with it. I think that those collaborations are important because with breweries instilled in the community the way that they are. I think some of them want to make true impact around. And sometimes everybody isn't always privy on how to make that happen. So I'm glad to be a part of an organization like Craft Women Connect in this collective, because, you know, we can kind of come to the table and kind of say, you know, well, maybe these are some things you should probably look into in terms of broadening that scope of, you know, community and collaboration. It's very important. People want visibility. People want to be seen and feel seen. And a lot of these breweries that I've had the privilege and opportunity to have in my community have always been very involved with everything going on. So.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like that.
Yeah,
I like
absolutely.
That. Caitlin, what do you think? You have any insight on why you think their collaborations are important?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think they also bring like a super impact to like underrepresented parts of the community still. So yeah, just building those meaningful relationships, because the craft beer community, like, it's big, but like not really. So when you think about things, like, everybody kind of knows each other, everybody has had beer from like all of these places. So like, if you're like an up and coming person, like, being like welcomed with like open arms, being able to ask questions and get that hands-on experience, like, it's nothing like it. You can read all the books about owning a business or opening up a brewery or doing whatever, but to get that real life like knowledge from people who have experienced like the same thing that you have is priceless.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And this is just an aside question. Chris mentioned community. I know y'all are newly relocated to New York. Are y'all finding your beer community there?
It's so wonderful here for beer. Like,
Good.
Of course, it's New York.
That's true. That's true. But I mean, I really would say like we never really got that in LA, or when we did, it was
Wow.
from like on the back end and only from like a couple of places. But being here, you can go anywhere, and everybody's like, "Yo, like, I think we follow each other," or like, "I'm such and such. It's nice to meet you. What do y'all want to know? Like, where haven't y'all been?" Um, and yeah, like, even for like Open and Bash for a New York Beer Week, that was in February, and it was amazing. We already have some things in the works with a couple of breweries out here. So yeah, I think that New York is definitely gives you that sense of community as far as what we were used to with the Atlanta beer community. I feel confident that it's giving us that same type of love, type of attention that we were looking for.
That's important.
Can I chime in there and just ask a question about something you said in terms of the community, with like the difference between LA and New York? Do you feel maybe with it kind of being in the midst of the pandemic that you all were, you know, moving over to LA and that was kind of happening? Do you think maybe that impacted your experience? Or do you feel like it was still a bit more of, you know, how we engage with, you know, different people in the community and the breweries, people are just a bit more open?
Yeah, I think that because we moved out there in 2019, so it was like a full year almost, like, before the pandemic. So the experience was still kind of the same. Like, we would just, get invited to like Pink Boots brew days or whatever, but we would be in and out of these breweries and, thinking that we're having like meaningful, conversations with owners or brewers or whatever, but nothing ever kind of came from it until the pandemic happened. And that's when we did our first collaboration with Indie Brewing Company, which is now sadly closed. But yeah, I think that LA was very niche, and we weren't kind of like expecting that. Just as far as like distance goes as well, like San Diego is like closer in proximity to what a beer city is, and not really so much LA.
Got you. Yeah.
Thanks.
That makes a difference. Yeah, that was a good question, Chris.
It does make a difference.
Yeah, it does make a big difference. And as far as collaborations go, all of us are coming to this. I think we're a good example of a collection of people who come to the craft beer industry from totally different places and totally different angles, right? Like, I'm a city planner, Michelle's in insurance, Chris is in advertising. Beers a Go-Go, you guys are actually more entrenched in the beer scene than any of us on a daily basis. But I think it still brings different sort of expectations about what we expect to do in a collaboration, how we expect to be involved in a collaboration, right? So, Chris, you want to talk a little bit about like what you come to expect in a collaboration?
Yeah, so I think something that's very important. Are y'all getting feedback?
No, I got
No,
you.
you're good.
Okay, sorry, just wanted to be sure. I think some things that are requirements for myself with collaborations are definitely aligning on our efforts and opportunities that we're trying to work with. Authenticity is a big deal. I think that sometimes you may come into encounters with people that, they're trying to jump on the bandwagon for whatever may be, happening. It may be a collaboration that's out, like, for example, a Black is Beautiful. I think that's a great example of authenticity with a lot of these partnerships and collaborations. I'm very happy to say in my community here in Atlanta, once that collaboration like Black is Beautiful came into play, there were a lot of breweries already doing the work. I saw where other people were kind of stirred up in their communities about, well, this brewery is just doing this because they want to say they did it. And, this is the only time they've ever shown up or done work with anybody in minority communities at all. And I was just happy at the fact that, this is a plus up, but I can probably name less than a handful of breweries that I don't see that kind of experience from. But for the most part, everybody in Atlanta is really like up on game and doing their work. It's authentic. It just flows naturally. It's not even something that we have to most times figure out how can we do this or where can we do that. Most times it all just tends to come together. By the time we're probably going to reach out to a brewer for something, they already have conversations in mind to have with us. So I think that the authenticity that goes into those collaborations is key. Because that kind of sets the basis and foundations for how things move forward. And then you'll actually start to see where those collaborations are one off and when it starts to turn into true partnerships. And then when you can do stuff like we do with Craft Women Connect and maybe barter some stuff and, we'll bring you some bodies out, but can we get some education over here? Can our girls come do some classes? Can we brew on a few days? Can they learn about the technical side of things, the chemicals? Can they take some time out, look at the machines? Can we do sensory testing? Anything that it may be, all of those things that come from just the start of, hey, we want to work together. I think that you can easily define how those things will go just to know that people are just being authentic with what they want to do. So
I think that is key. I totally agree with you because that kind of sets the foundation, right, for all the other things that come, like you said, after the brew day, like
right.
and sets all that up. And then within the brew day, sets that brew day up to be something that's a little more impactful or meaningful. Caitlin, y'all have done lots of collaborations as Beers at Gogo. What level of involvement do you come to expect when you're engaging with another brewery?
For us, we really want like overall influence from adjuncts, style of beer, beer name, can art. If we're doing 12 ounces to 16 ounces, we have a say in everything. And that's just really because like it's more than a collaboration for us because we're there for 90% of the things. So like I said, like from the grain build all the way to like canning day, distribution, whatever the case may be. So they definitely like overall influence.
Mm-hmm. Michelle, you've been shaking your head a lot. What do you want to say? I feel like you want to chime in.
I definitely agree with that because I think a lot of times, unfortunately, some people want to do collabs and just want to put their name on something. But I know when it comes to us, when we've done anything, we want to be fully involved from beginning to end and influence all the decisions that are being made. Like Caitlin said, grain bill, adjuncts, can art, even, not just putting our name on a can and some beer in a can, but can we do an event? Can we get people together? Can we, give background on who we are, who the brewery is, who the brewers are? Because so many times people know the brewery, but they don't know the brewers. So, it's like it's a whole community and a whole process that we wanna be involved in. And I think that's so important and it makes it so much more meaningful because people connect to the stories and the people. So beer, being the community that it is, we all love it. But when you can also connect to the people and not just the product, that makes it a successful collaboration for everyone involved. And so I think that's really the most important thing. Just when working with people and wanting to be involved through the whole process. And plus it's a learning process too, right? Because it's like if I wasn't there when you brewed or put the adjuncts or anything, I just threw my name on something. And for me personally, that doesn't give me any any value, and I've
Any
added
value.
so it's
It's
like
inauthentic, as Chris
right,
said
Yeah,
earlier.
I was going to
exactly.
chime in there to say
Yep.
on the flip side of things, as you were saying, like, some people may want to throw their name on something. Some people might want us to be a part of something just because they know who we are. And I think that we've grown and elevated our collective in such a way that nobody anticipated. Our local breweries and other breweries throughout are people on social media and organizations there as well. They see us, they see our growth, they see our impact, and sometimes people just want in on it, and it may not actually be sincere. So it's also things that we have to gauge on our end, which is why we, go out of the way to ensure we have requirements in place for what we want as well, because it can't just be, hey, we want Craft Women Connect there. And it's like, well, what do we get out of it?
Yep.
You guys may get this, but how does this benefit us? Again, how can, we work together to partner in the best way that suits us. We have a lot of girls women, who want to be a part of things, and will take advantage of any opportunity. I think with the Georgia's Craft Guild festival recently, we were able to collaborate and partner there to plug in our women to be judges and to be stewards, and open that floor up to many women who could travel into Atlanta if they wanted to be a part of that as well. So it's kind of like that's an expectation too. And then also something that when you are working in such a huge space and you do have that level of influence, you have to be cognizant of that as well.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you brought that up, Chris, that we are not only speaking about product collaborations, right? Collaborations can go beyond just creating a beer. It can go into providing educational opportunities, like Chris just mentioned, us being a part of events, organizations. When you think about collaboration from a more broad lens, you may understand that there are different elements that can make a winning collaboration and elements that could make a disastrous collaboration. So thank you for bringing that up too. Speaking of like good collaborations, Michelle, Caitlin, what are your perspectives on some green flags? How can you tell if a collaboration is going in the right direction? A brewery or a collaborator has done A, B, C, D. Things are off to a good start. Let's start with you, Caitlin.
I would definitely say communication. That's the first line of defense.
Number one.
So constant communication, being able to speak with like not only like the brewers about the process, but like how the marketing is going to get done. How, if they already have an artist there, like, do we have input on that? Are we bringing our own artists? Like, so having the open line of communication is definitely like the first thing, and scheduling as well. Especially for us, since we have to do a lot of traveling to do these collaborations, making a fruitful like schedule is important for both sides.
That's a good point. When you have team members from out of state and you all make it to Atlanta whenever you can for our collaborations, about how much time would you like to have? Like in an ideal world, if we could give you a heads up about how far in advance do you need to know because of scheduling? That's a really good point.
Yeah. Well, for me, my job is about to get hectic, so I may need more time than I normally would. Since like Atlanta, is home. It's like, yeah, I can go, back whenever, make my schedule, but it is about to get a little rough for me.
And like I mentioned earlier, a lot of us are in different industries. So we sometimes need, I remember getting called up to do a tasting day or a brew day. And it was like on a Wednesday at 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. And I'm like, well, y'all know I work a regular job, right? Like I appreciate being a part of this collab, but I have a 9 to 5. So we need to know, give me a week so I can put it on the schedule. I can bring my laptop like we've done several times now that we work remotely, but I still need like a little bit of time just to make those adjustments. Yeah, about 2-3 months.
Yeah, I think people will probably be a bit surprised, especially with brew days, how spontaneous they move.
Yeah.
With that, like, kind of saying that, it makes me wonder and maybe consider, like, when we're not working in the back end of the house, we don't necessarily know what may go into a few things. I don't expect for brewers to be A1 communicators like myself, who works with client
Working in
services
communication,
and
right?
sends out agendas on a certain schedule and does follow-ups and so forth. So I know sometimes myself, I try to think out the box a bit and shift my perspective to say, well, if that kind of challenge is present, I wonder why. Why is it that that's maybe common? Well, maybe think at maybe some of those gaps that maybe these aren't client services and communication isn't that strong suit of, maybe brewers, and, kind of keeping that in consideration. So maybe making sure you do a bit more due diligence to ensure that, upfront when you have those conversations, to stay on them and say, we're going to require, this information by this date and this time. And I'm sure they'll appreciate stuff like that. But I know those kind of, like I said, challenges and things do exist. So sometimes I try to think about what's going on at, on that side. Maybe they got caught up in something went bad with the batch and they had to spend a couple of hours doing some other stuff. And the last thing they were thinking about was reaching out tomorrow for a brew day that totally was nowhere in their thoughts, so.
That's a good point. Good point.
Good point.
Michelle, what do you think? What are some other green flags that a collaboration is headed in the right direction?
I think it's so hard because I think communication is the base of everything. But
I agree. Yeah.
I think it's also the space to, I was trying to figure out how to word this, like the power to, like knowing that we have the power to give our ideas and say how we feel about things, right?
So an environment that feels like that's welcome.
Right, exactly. Like, again, it's not, you don't want us here just because of a name of our influence, but you actually want to know what we think, what we're looking for, what is it, where we want to take this, what are our own personal experiences that we can contribute to this collaboration. So
I like that a lot. And I have something to say about that, but keep going.
Right, yeah. So our own personal experiences that we could bring to this collaboration. So being open to hearing that, being open to responding to that too. Like, because we all come from so many different backgrounds and have many different experiences. So, we're a little closed-minded to our own path on things. So to be able to be open-minded and listen to other people, you may take a creative path that you had no idea you were going to go. So to be open to be open to that and give that space in a collaboration, I think is extremely important.
And I think what I was going to add to that, which it made me think of this, is that it may also be helpful. I mean, even if you don't have a relationship with the people you're collaborating with, I think in our case, a lot of them we do because we drink there and we're local. But if you don't have the benefit of that, then maybe just getting to know each other, right? And just having a day where you just hang out, get to know each other before you even get into the nuts and bolts of the collaboration may be really helpful. You can understand how the other one moves, what their desires are, just kind of a baseline discussion. Again, going back to communication, sounds
Absolutely.
like. What are some of those red flags? What are some of the things that you see and you're like, oh hell, this shit went left fast?
Well,
Michelle, what do you think? Yeah, go ahead.
If I could piggyback, I think it's where because I'm coming if I'm going into a brewery, I'm going into your space. So if I get the impression you're like, okay, we're putting our financial backing to this. This is our space. So you kind of got to do what we want you to do. Then that's going to kind of be like, I'm not really happy. Like, I'm like, why do you want me here? Like, I'm volunteering my time, especially like I said, we want to get in there and brew beer. That's hard work. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for paying me in beer, but like we said, we have full-time jobs. So it's kind of a volunteer basis, and to feel like I'm coming in and working for you, and we have to uphold your image and your guidelines and just that whole atmosphere. That's to me a big red flag, and I'm like, I don't want to be, because it doesn't feel like a partnership. It doesn't feel like a collaboration. It feels like you just want me to come in here and work for you. And
right.
Michelle says she ain't doing that
And might I add, we do sell out our beers.
all the
So
time.
just to, you know,
All
kind
of
of
them.
factor that in. No, in all honesty, that's why I
All
said
of
we
them.
because it's
have
like
to,
you're
you
gonna have
know,
your attitude like we
yeah,
have financial backing. Okay, you're gonna get it back when you sell this beer. So
right.
absolutely, Chris is right.
Yeah, we get a lot of support. We bring the city out a lot of times for people who,
Absolutely.
and these people are people who continually come back to the breweries. So it's like, you know, again, remembering so we can avoid red flags like that. We have our requirements too. We know what we come with. We value ourselves and the work that we do. And it's okay to say that. I think sometimes people may get a little intimidated with those kind of conversations. And it's okay. My crew knows this. I'm straightforward with it. I say it with love. I try to be solution oriented, but it has to, you know, mean something and, you know, make it make sense is what I always like to say. So I think that's something that's very important for red flags. Another red flag is please don't reach out to us to collaborate with us when your brewery is in the post and blogs and media about mistreatment in the workplace and assaults and so forth and things going on. This seems to be a ongoing thing that just happens to jump up with somebody you probably thought was your favorite brewery and this stuff going on. If y'all don't know how to treat people in the workplace, we don't want to be collaborating with you.
Well,
That's right.
period.
I don't know how people
Period.
don't think that kind of stuff won't get back to you, but it's like, whoa.
You know, it may be a little bit of damage control too. People like, you know what? Let me reach out to this group. They're all ladies. They're women of color.
Yeah, I feel that, and I don't necessarily
so many intersections that we cross off, and
Yeah.
that's also not cool because we can detect that. We have very strong bullshit meters. We can detect that from a mile away, and we do our research, like Chris says. You know, and you may not be one that's in the news and in the blogs right now, but please know we do our due diligence whenever we can too, because it is a two-way street. You know,
right?
Our good friend William from Conso is in the chat. I guess it's William. It just says Conso Brewing. I'm assuming it's William. It could be Corby or Kevin.
I felt like it's William too.
I feel like it's William. But the question is for the top 3 keys for a brewery to collab with people like us. You know, how do they find us? What are some of the keys? Anybody want to take that question? Well, we already said one key is to communicate properly, right? Communicate properly, not be in the news for some BS. And what's another key? Probably just have that collaborative spirit, like Michelle talked about, the environment of, you know, being able to have a give and take partnership. Like those are the top 3, right? I would say.
Yeah.
And have good beer.
Ooh, let's start there. Let's begin there.
We gotta sell out.
How important is the product at the brewery that we're starting with? That's a very good point.
We have to be honest about this because we have literally had internal conversations many a times about product when it comes to collaborations. And I'm glad this just kind of came up. Thanks for that question, Conzo, that this came up because product is key. We pride ourselves on, you know, being experts in our field. Some of us have Cicerone certifications. Some of us work in the brew place. Some of us brew beers already. So, you know, we don't want to just put our name on something. Just it doesn't matter how big you are, who you are, or what you bring to the table, or in terms of, oh, here's what we can offer you. The product has to be a great product. And we're very particular and we're very aware. We're very knowledgeable on our styles. So that's why, you know, we want to be hands-on in the process because we want to know what's going in there. So that would not be a goal for us to be doing collaborations where we can't come there and see what's going in the beer that we're going to put our names on. We want to know what that product is going to be like. And we have to entrust prior to, you know, probably partnering and collaborating with you that the product that we're going to be doing is going to be one that sells out because, hey, Craft Women Connect sells out beers.
We do. You bring up the next question I want to talk about, which are the impacts of a bad collaboration. Like how can a poor collaboration impact your personal brand, our brand as a collective, your experience? You know, how can going down that road and having a bad collaboration really be a negative for us or for an individual? I'll let you answer that one, Caitlin.
I think like a a bad collaboration can be like a minimal thing. Like, I don't think that it necessarily happens often because, like I said, we went over green flags and red flags and stuff. And I think to the point to where it gets to a bad collaboration, it just really means that, like, you as a collaborator probably weren't as involved as you needed to be to kind of like stop those things like in their track to kind of lead it down that bad road. But I mean, still a bad collaboration can probably still lead to a good beer. But you know, it's foresight really. But that's why communication is a thing, working with people who you actually want to work with, like not doing any collaborations or whatever for clout, but working with people who you actually want to have those residual lasting impacts from.
Yeah, and just to chime in there too, you made me think about it's even some things that's as simple as having dedicated space when we're doing events. Breweries house a lot of different guests, a lot of different events. Things could probably overlap or conflict with things that you're doing, and you're not made aware until last minute. And you may be anticipating maybe a certain amount of traffic, or we like to do vendors and pop-ups and so forth. So in a small way, something just like, you know, having an overlapping event or something that is occurring with your event and that communication wasn't clear could make you feel uncomfortable about, moving forward, if I have to collaborate with them, I might not want to do XYZ because, you know, of those reasons. So that's why, you know, I'm glad we're not Pink Boots Society, but outside of Pink Boots, I don't really know any other large collectives or organizations on behalf of women who really do a lot of collaborations as we do. And I think that has put us in this special place to be able to come up with these, you know, not necessarily demands or requirement, but come up with these collaboration and partnership tools for best success when working with other, you know, breweries and so forth that we utilize for ourselves, but can also pass along to other collaborators in, you know, the event that they want to move forward doing something like that. You know, sometimes you may not think about, oh, let me make sure we probably have a dedicated space for, you know, the beer, for people to taste it, for them to be able to mingle and, you know, talk about things or whatever that may be. So,
And you, Michelle, go ahead, chime in. I see you.
Yeah, I was to jump off of what Chris was saying. I think setting expectations is what's important, right? It's like, all right, we're going to go in and this is what we're looking for, and being able to set that from the beginning so that everyone involved is aware, okay, we understand you just don't want to throw your name on something. We understand that you just don't want to pick the adjuncts, you actually want to come for the brew day. So it's like, all right, these are the expectations that we have. We expect to be fully involved. We expect that if we're going to have an event at the brewery, that we want to be the main focus because we bring a lot of people out. You know, when we present those things, it's not because we want to be difficult, it's because of our experience in how things have turned out. So we always want to work with people who are open to hearing that and understanding that. So I think that's really important in terms of, like Caitlin said, you know, maybe like stopping a bad collaboration in its tracks is like setting the expectations from the beginning. Like, we're not here just to look cute and, you know, we're here to put in the work and make it a successful collaboration for both the brewery and both for us as a collective.
While also keeping in mind as well that there are some collaborators who are perfectly fine being hands off of everything.
Right. Yeah.
We recently went to Tennessee to do a brew day collaboration with LT LaTroya of Five Wits Brewing. She's a brewer over there. Amazing to work with. I mean, I don't think Troya touched much of anything. I mean, she literally was telling us, press that pump number, do this, boom, boom, boom. We did everything. But kind of giggling with her about, like, you know, working with like I won't say their name, but a big organization that, you know, kind of likes to do photo ops and them coming in to do a brew day and her anticipating her having some support and them kind of coming in and saying, you know, oh, let's take some photos and saying, all right, well, thanks. This was nice. And dipping on her and leaving her the whole brew day for herself. And she's like, okay. So, you know, keeping in mind that there are some people who are perfectly fine and perfectly okay with that low minimum effort of being in collaboration with people, as, you know, Caitlin has said, maybe for clout or just for the reasons that, maybe they have to have something that they check off their list every year, what they do, and that's how they do it. So
that's an important takeaway too, to just understand from the collaborator what they anticipate as being their level of involvement. We've already stated that we like to be over the top involved. We want to mash in grains. We want to get the spent grain ready for the livestock or the dog cookies or whatever it's going to. We want to do all of that. But I know some people, like we heard, do not want to do any of that. So
we want to clean the tanks.
Yeah, we want to clean the tanks. Believe me, we do it, and we love doing it. But I think we only have a few minutes left, about 4 minutes. Real quickly, if anybody wants to shout out like their favorite collaboration, one of your favorites that you've done, you could do that now.
Well, my favorite collaboration of ours is probably all of them, honestly, but this one in particular stood out because we didn't reach out to them. We just did a collaboration with Great Notion in September. And I just so happened to be in Portland for work, and the GM of the brewery, he was like, "Hey, I know you guys." And we got to having a really good conversation, and he was like, "Yeah, let's brew a beer." So that being in an organic situation for it to happen in the brewery, actually reaching out to us instead of it being vice versa, was pretty special.
That's awesome. Chris or Michelle?
Well, I'm always going to say our Venus collaboration.
That's my girl.
Yeah,
Veenie. Oh, Veenie.
Veenie.
Yeah, because to always say it's a partnership. They have a love and respect for us.
Yeah.
And they are open to what we want to do, and they're so supportive, and it feels so genuine and authentic. And to me, that's the most important feeling that I've ever gotten out of the collaboration. So that's why it's a partnership. It's I think I was talking to somebody the other day. They was like, "Are you re-releasing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, in 2023."
Right.
Next year, because we're gonna do this again. Unless something drastically changes, we're looking forward to the future and really growing the collaboration, because it's been wonderful the last 2 years. So
I agree.
My favorite, of course.
Yours too, Chris?
Yeah, of course. And then I'm glad we chose the name Venus. This is a great time to be associated with Venus and Serena Williams. They are getting a lot of accodeades. So some people, that's not the Venus Williams, whatever floats.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I love Reformation. I love them. They take good care of me. I love working with them. I don't even have anything, outside of thank you to them to say, especially working with Jessica. She has been just a true joy and pleasure. And I'm very excited though too with our last brew day collaboration with Five Wits to try that beer out. That was probably the funnest brew day experience I've ever had, because if anyone knows me, I really don't like to do all the nitty gritty work. I'm usually the historian, taking all the photos, capturing the moment, and letting those girls do all the other good work. But I was very hands-on with everything, and it just was very, very fun.
So proud of you, Chris.
Learned so much.
I think I saw you break a sweat a little bit. I
did. I still have. I wore this head. I got a little malt grain stuff up here, cleaning out all of the grain and stuff. Yeah.
Awesome. We did have a great time. That beer is going to be ready, I think, she said, by late April-ish. So it's a double dry hopped hazy IPA. Our first time doing that. So our time is winding up in this session. It's a good point to just close out and thank everybody for joining us. Before we go, each of you just give us how we can find you on social media, and we'll sign off. So I'll start with you, Chris. How can folks find
my handle right here? Oh, yes. I feel like one of those YouTubers that I was supposed to be but never tapped into. Anyway, you guys can check me out at the Craft Beer Connoisseur. I am on Instagram. I am on Linktree. I am on Facebook. I'm all over social media. If you type in Craft Beer Chris, you can find me with that as well. And if you ever have questions about anything, I do a super sour summer series. It's going to be coming up in July. Looking forward to it this year, trying to do some big stuff with it. So if you like sour beers, looking for recommendations, feel free to come my way. More than happy to shoot you some.
Awesome.
And,
Michelle.
cheers.
Thanks, Chris. Michelle.
I'm Michelle. You can find me on mainly Instagram, Excited to Feast. And with Craft Women Connect, rolling around Atlanta. I'm usually running around at a festival or bottle share somewhere or eating some good food somewhere. But yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Excited to Feast.
Awesome. All right, Caitlin.
You can find us at Beers the Gogo. We, like I said, are in New York, but I guess pretty much kind of bi-coastal. So if you have any interesting places that we should go, any good beer for us to try, just hit us up.
Awesome.
That too.
Yes.
Right.
And I'm Jen.
Sorry, Jen.
Sorry, I'm Jen. Crafted for Action is how you can find me, and you can follow all of us if you just go to Craft Women Connect, which is our Instagram, and we have a private Facebook page as well. So with that, thank you so much for joining us for our session for the Craft Beer Professional Spring Conference. We hope you enjoy the rest of your conference.
Thanks.
Bye.
Cheers.
Cheers.